Thank you, dear Fatmir, and good morning, everyone. I do have to apologize in advance that I will have to leave in about 15 minutes because of meetings with representatives of the new administration, but I want to say how grateful I am for this opportunity and, of course, greet all of the members of Congress and friends and colleagues from around the world on behalf of the people of Kosovo. As you know, every single time, not only when I'm here, but also when I travel around the world, I proudly mention that I'm the president of the most pro-American nation on earth. I wear that as a badge of honor, despite of the fact that whether it's Russia or China or their proxies try to portray that in a negative manner. But I've seen Kosovo, and the people of Kosovo have seen our country continuously as an extension of American values. Most importantly, the American values of freedom that we have jointly defended for at least the past 25 years. So again, a heartfelt gratitude on behalf of the people of Kosovo for standing by us during our darkest hours, but also not leaving us alone while we achieve joint successes. Now, while of course Kosovo has been a success story, and beyond that, I would say Kosovo is a flawless American victory. We need to make sure that we keep it that way. There are malign forces that have, at least for the past two decades and a half, trying to change that reality. No wonder, in at least once a month, Putin says, I'm going to show the world that America failed in Kosovo. In this way, he is telling everyone in a very transparent way that he doesn't necessarily care about tiny little Kosovo in Europe, but he wants to fight what America stands for and what America has achieved. And I'm not only talking here about American politicians. I'm also talking about the American men and women in uniform that have sacrificed so much that we have peace in Europe and we have peace in a region, the Western Balkans, that had not known peace any time in its history except for when America showed its leadership. I oftentimes mention that my children, our children, are the very first generation in the history of our nation that have not known war. Our great-grandparents went through a war, our grandparents went through a war, our parents did. We went through a genocidal war. Our kids are the very first generation that are living in peace thanks to American leadership. We need to make sure that we keep it that way. And I believe that in the past 25 years, Kosovo has made America proud by defending these same values, by having our shoulders serve alongside U.S. soldiers, shoulder to shoulder around the world, by making sure that we jointly defend peace around the world. But right now, peace in the Western Balkans is very fragile, for a very simple reason. We need to make sure that now that President Trump is back in the White House, through his Peace Through Strength formula, we need to have America as a strong friend to its true allies and also show true American leadership to those that are bringing Russia, China, and Iran closer to our region. While, of course, Serbia has depended its entire military, economic, and political ties to China, Russia, and Iran, as was mentioned by Professor Joseph, Kosovo has done the exact opposite. We're the only country in the entire region that has not joined the China Road and Belt Initiative, the only one, entirely resisting China's malign economic influence, which is anything but economic influence, but because it has entirely different intentions. Secondly, we're a country with a 98% approval rate for American leadership, while only 2% that belong, of course, to the Serbian minority trust Russian leadership, only 2% in our country, becoming in this way the European country with the lowest Russian influence in the entire European continent. And third, we have not allowed any Iranian ideology to have any influence whatsoever over our country. Nevertheless, we need to go from rhetoric to concrete action. And that means that the people of Kosovo have very high hopes that we're going to have more of an American investment into our region. That, of course, means a continuous support through the American forces that are already in Kosovo for peace and stability, because the American uniform uniform is the deterrent force in our region. That's the uniform that is deterrent, the deterrent force that prevents any kind of destabilization efforts from Russia, China, and other malign factors. Secondly, it is critical that we encourage U.S. investments in Kosovo's critical infrastructure. There are enormous opportunities for a much higher economic cooperation that would benefit both of our nations. Because the U.S. engagement with Kosovo will not only ensure, of course, economic benefits in terms of cooperation, but at the same time would ensure a stable, democratic, and most importantly, a pro-American presence in a geopolitically sensitive region, therefore preventing adversaries from gaining ground. So we have very high hopes that with President Trump in the White House, we will jointly defend what America has achieved in a very sensitive region, because having peace in the Western Balkans means peace in the entire European continent. And peace in the European continent is also crucial for a stronger American leadership in the world based on the values of freedom for which we've all jointly worked and sacrificed for. Of course, Moscow will continue to use Serbia as a launching pad for its hybrid warfare and disinformation. And as we've heard before, China is not only selling weapons to Serbia, but Serbia has become the only country in Europe to launch the FK3 system. And also, while I meet U.S. leaders in, let's say, in U.S. soil in New York a few years ago, Serbia was signing deals with Lavrov after the invasion of Ukraine to align its foreign policy with Russia. While I was meeting U.S. and European leaders, the president of Serbia was meeting the president of Iran. While I was meeting U.S. leaders, the president of Serbia was receiving the president of China. What you stand for and where you stand should matter. A country that stands for American values and defends them together with you should matter. Should matter. That's what Kosovo has been to the United States. And a final point, I do agree with Professor Joseph. Coordination with the United States, it's key. It's not just necessary for us as a country, it's existential. It's existential for continued successes, but also for preserving peace and stability, for preserving our freedom, for which we've sacrificed so much, and at the same time for making sure that our children continue to grow up in peace as the very first generation to know of peace because of people like you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.